Hi, good evening. My name is Jay Rothman, and welcome to Real Men, Real Talk, Live. Hi, good evening. I am the host of the show. My name is Jay Rothman. I'd like to introduce my co-host coming in from somewhere south of North America, in the Americas. Josh, Rich are joining us.
Hey, good to be here.
We have Everslove Heath, the man of the land from down under. He does call Australia home. Welcome to the show, Ev.
Thank you, brothers.
And of course, we have the one and only Jeff Pisano coming in from Nashville, Tennessee. Welcome to the show, gentlemen. It's so good to see you tonight.
Great to be here as usual. Another week in the books.
100%, man.
Another week in the books, and here we are.
Yeah. Well, before we jump into tonight's show, I would like to take a moment to welcome our viewers and listeners. Without you, we would just be four men having a deep conversation once or twice a week. But with you here, you actually help inspire us to go deep and to share on topics that you won't hear in typical boardrooms or locker rooms, but you'll hear it here on Real Men, Real Talk Live. So if you, in fact, hear something that you like or love with love, please tap your love button on your monitor and light us up. If you should have any questions or comments that come forward in tonight's show, please drop them into the comment section. We'll do our best to address as many of them questions as we can and share some of your wisdom with the community on the screen. And so at the same time, if you are like what you hear, please share it out into your community so that we can organically grow the talk show. And with that, last week, guys, we had an amazing show. Our topic was all about fear. And I don't know about you guys, but it's a topic that is always it brings some stuff up for all of us, and it turned into a great conversation last week. And so here we are, a new week, a new topic, and this topic this week is all about Ev, what is this week's topic about?
The fear. I mean, it comes on the back end of a beautiful topic last week, which opened up a massive can of worms. And, like I just said to the brothers in the green room before we started the show, each week it just seems like there's been this beautiful flow of topics that has brought us to today's topic, where you may be feeling that something that is just missing within your life. Now, I still see a lot of people out there, and I did a video this morning on my personal profile talking about there was no year like last year, 2020, we know it now, that we had a time to pause, we had the time to reset, but we also had the time to take inventory and stock take of maybe something that has been missing in our lives. I know for me, and I know many people out there I'm sure would agree with me, that as children, particularly in this old school paradigm, we were groomed from the very get-go to get the tick in our school certificates, to get the tick in our high school certificates, to get the tick in our university degrees, to get the trophy in our sports, to get the dream job when we got out of school, and then to get the dream house, the cars, the people, the places, the things, and it goes on and on and on. But what I still see out there, many, many people, and man, I put my hand up on this one as well, until a few years ago, that there was still that one thing that was missing from my life. Now, after a lot of introspection, my brothers on a Real Men Real Talk Live tonight, we've all done the deep, deep work. Now, after going within, I really came back to that one thing that I was missing. it was me. Maybe it's you. Maybe you've been missing from your life. And no matter how much you accumulate in your life, it still feels like something missing. My brothers and sisters, like I keep saying, we are getting a chance like no other to take that stock take, to take that inventory and recalibrate to align to that one thing that's been missing through all these beautiful tools that we've been doing on at Real Men Real Talk Live, to really come back within and start seeing that all of this is an inside job once again. So I know my brothers here, Real Men Real Talk Live, we're going to be diving deep about what's been missing in your life up until this point, and we're going to provide you some tools to help you navigate into this new paradigm.
Yeah.
Smoking opener. That's the way to kick it off.
Well,
Yeah,
where do you
man.
go from there, Josh?
Oh man, I was caught in it too. Ev, you just open it up like that. You totally brought me back to where I was in my mid 30s, and then I thought about my late 30s when everything, that expectation, the house, the 2.5 kids, the success, and all of those expectations I had on myself, and when they didn't happen, even though I was successful in my life, it didn't match what I had expected. And so therefore I was a failure, and therefore, my life wasn't turning out the way it should, and it was all falling apart. And so, and then when the business crash happened and all of that, you guys have heard all the stories. Then of course it really exploded in my face. And so I was just thinking how, when you were talking about how we're taught that as young kids, and we get that from, our parents, and we get rewarded at work for striving and doing the grind and all of that, and building these expectations, how dangerous those are, how utterly dangerous. And that's what took me down, was the biggest thing, was my life looked nothing like I had expected. And therefore I was a failure. Some dangerous territory to be playing in, those expectations.
Yeah. And why do you think it's dangerous, my brother? Like, that is a pretty strong word.
Because if you think about expectations, you're not open to other possibilities or other beautiful things in your life, beautiful gifts. If it doesn't fit your one expectation or your one model, everything outside that narrow window is a failure, or you haven't completed if you didn't get that one thing. And so therefore all these other beautiful things in life that ebb and flow and are unexpected and come to you, and opportunities, when you're holding just one outcome as your measure of success or failure, that's
and we
dangerous.
And in all of that, what we do is when we do that, and I think we've all done that, and you're looking outside, success, this, that, all these expectations, we just lose ourselves.
Totally
lose ourselves. We just, it's not even, we're not even there anymore, because everything is out there. Everything is outside of ourselves. I have to attain this. I have to get this job. I have to rise through the corporate ranks. I have to do this. I have to have this house, this car, this thing, this much money, all of that stuff. And then all of a sudden, where does our identity go? Who we truly are in our heart space.
Yeah, 100%, brother.
Our identity placed upon what we have, or the expectations that mom and dad had for us, and we have to fulfill that. And that's where we're living our lives. I know, that's part of what happened to me in my life too,
Yeah.
And then we never celebrate, real quick, Jay, we never celebrate the wins of all the other great stuff we're doing. If it didn't meet that one goal, then all the other stuff is just out the window. Like, it doesn't even count. At least that's how I lived my life. Like, I was never happy with anything that I had because it didn't fit that one expectation.
Exactly. and then then we start. Then what's missing eventually, if we start to do a little bit of inner work and reflecting, like Ev just said, we start to realize, well, I have all of what I thought was going to fill me up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we realize, well, this is not me.
Right.
This is not who we are. And then we're sitting there going, something's missing.
Yep. 100%, brother.
And who in our audience is in that place right now? Who in that? Because I'm real quick, over a little over 20 years ago, I remember sitting with a friend in her living room, and I had just, quit my job. It was 1999-ish, 2000, and I had just quit my job, and life was rolling. Life was pretty cool. And I sat in her living room, and I said, "Something's missing. There's something missing. There's something missing." And she said, "Why don't you visit my healer?" And I said, that resonated. I said, okay. And I did. After working with him for a while, I realized what was missing was me. And it was a journey to reconnect with the authentic me.
Jeff, let me ask you this. I love the story that you share, because this is your life story. And we're honing in on expectations, but really, whose expectations are they? And what is the relationship between expectations and judgment? Is all of this, it's almost like they're wrapped together really tightly. They're entangled in this relationship that holds us in bondage. And when we really break it down, because what I'm asking you to do, one of you guys jump in here and break it down. Why do we get entangled in these judgments, in these expectations, and allow them to control so many of our outcomes in our careers, in our relationships, in the cities we may even live in, even the type of car we may be attracted to purchase or think that we're less than if we don't have a specific style of vehicle? Are they even ours? Or are they someone else's? Is it that, go back to the inheritance? And does it really just come down to having the awareness, waking up, cleaning off the lenses so that you could start to see clearly and understand that all of this self-judgment and all of these expectations that we place on ourselves, how important are they? And are they really ours? And how much longer do we want to hold on to them or release them? Because when we release them, it sets us up. It opens us up, as I say, to show up and grow up. So from your perspective, Josh and Jeff and Ev as well, why do we do that? Why do we self-sabotage ourselves and hold us to a standard that is maybe a standard that is not necessary? And that's part of what keeps us feeling empty or missing something inside, even if we have that dream job, even if we have that beautiful family, even if we have that body, and even if we have that bank account, yet many still are seeking unknowingly that there's something's missing inside.
Comes down to creating everything out there, thinking that that's going to give us some sort of sense of self, proving to others who we are based upon how much money is in my bank account, the job that I have, the status I have, et cetera, et cetera. And then, Jay, it goes back to our parents, our programming, and our conditioning on so many levels.
Jeff, I want to just jump in here. Jeannie says here, if I may, fear and anxiety is why, Jroff. So obviously, this is Jeannie's. This is your experience and why you hold on, why you may have held on to what we just, about expectations and judgments. I want to also acknowledge real quickly, I lost it. Rayanne here says, I used to have the stuff and fancy things to make me feel full, and it never did. When I got rid of all of that is when I finally figured out what makes me full. Rayanne, if you may, I'd like you to share with us, what is it that makes you full today? Please drop it in the comments. We'd love to hear you. Hear what we know where you were. So what is it that fills you up now? Love to hear more about that.
And that's beautiful what Ryan said. And again, we're coming back to these beautiful things called emotions. You know, we think we accumulate some of this stuff, this wealth, these people, places, and things in our lives to gain a particular emotional feeling within.
Mm-hmm.
Now, whether those were feelings deep from the past, like you're talking about there, brothers, that were programmed into us that we didn't have as children, or whether they were feelings that we did have and we want to keep accumulating them through the stuff externally. See, I didn't actually realize how much I really had until I let it all go.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And that was only 3-4 years ago when I was able to let it all go. Relationship, career, people out of my life. And I started dating myself.
Mm-hmm.
I took myself out in nature.
Mm-hmm.
I did the reflection. I did the introspection. I found out that those people, places, and things that I was accumulating in to validate the emotions that made me feel a particular way, I was able to create within myself. Now, we're talking about some deep connection with a higher version of ourself coming into body.
Mm-hmm.
And when we start to really understand what's going on, my beautiful brothers and sisters, your higher self is connecting. We are spiritual beings having this physical experience. So those things outside of self, those accumulation of stuff, it's physical. It's physical stuff. We are metaphysical. So we're starting to find this connection, and that connection is within the emotions that we seek within our lives.
Mm.
So yeah, man, this shit gets deep. It gets deep.
Yeah.
And we're caught up in the dynamic, right? That so things outside of us, we believe, we were just talking about this today on the movie. Things outside of us tempt us to feel an emotion, but we decide to feel whether we're angry or sad or disappointed by somebody's actions or whatever. So we feel that everything outside of us causes us to have feelings. So, and we're giving away our power in that sense. And then what also happens in this dynamic is we get so caught up in that belief that the external world causes our feelings. So when we want to feel good, it means the external world must have the answers for us to feel good. Buying that new car, you get that kick of dopamine. Dating that new girl, you get the kick of dopamine. Whatever, all these things, you make the money, you get that kick of dopamine. But it only lasts so long because it's from without. It's not from within.
Yeah.
And when we are able to realize that the external stimulation and external world is just that we get to decide how to feel and how to respond to these external things, then we take back our control, and then we are generating our own feelings from within. And the outside world can't affect you, can't touch you. You're untouchable because we are our own powerhouse at that point, generating our own emotions, and the outside world can do whatever the hell it wants. And we get to decide what good gets in.
Yeah.
I love what you said, Josh, and I want to just really piggyback to some Alan B. Christensen. Alan, love to know where you call home today. Welcome to Real Men Real Talk Live. I would like to share, read out loud, our emotions bear our responsibility. When we allow someone to make us feel a certain way, we are giving our power away. Gentlemen, does this sound familiar? Like,
Yeah.
did I not share in the pre-show green room tonight an opportunity that's right here smacking me in the face in this moment today? You know, how quickly we can get sucked into someone else's situation, someone else's fears, someone else's anxieties, and allow it to take us hostage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And when
That's
we
why
are
it
hostage,
happens.
we are living in bondage in that moment.
Yep. Hey, if we would even want to get to a place, it all comes down to choice. Something that happens outside of us, we actually have a choice in that moment of how we're going to respond to that. Because what happens is we get triggered. You know, we get triggered, and it's all depending upon, is it raising our resonance or is it lowering our resonance? And then we will get triggered to feel something. But it's to be aware and cognizant of that it's triggering something inside of ourselves that needs to be triggered from that mirror that's going to make us aware of what is being triggered. And then when we realize from a place of being fulfilled within, because it's not about filling up anything. We're here to just be fulfilled within ourselves, which is knowing who we are, honoring, valuing, loving who we are. Something happens outside of ourselves, so it will hit us. It'll trigger us, but we will then be able to be aware and conscious of the feelings that surface, but that is not surfacing. They're not making me feel that way. They're just saying something, doing something that's hitting me. And then I can feel it, as Jay said, without any judgment or shame. Oh, wow, I'm feeling this. It's not making me feel this, if that makes sense.
100%.
Then we have that choice to go, oh, wow. You know what that person just said and did, that triggered me. But you know something? I'm going to allow the feelings to come up, but I'm not going to go there with it.
Meaning I'm not going to stay there any longer than in this moment. I'm going to give myself permission to. And what I mean by that is I'm going to give myself permission to feel whatever comes up for me from that. But I don't have to take it on. And it's not my responsibility to try to fix someone else or navigate them to, that space, that sweet spot. But to be able to have the awareness of this is what I'm feeling, for me, it's raising my hand, and I call it almost like acknowledging it, putting it out in the universe to someone I trust, because that helps me release the power of it, and then get a good night's sleep and drink extra water and do some extra, what I'm describing is extra self-care.
There you go, brother. There it is.
And also know that when something like that happens, it's perfect in our soul plan. That was supposed to happen to actually maybe test us where we are within ourselves, where that happens. And okay, what is it bringing up in me? Am I going to indulge in the story? Am I going to sink into it? Am I going to go there? And conversely, when something happens that raises our resonance and vibration, are we even going to go to that place to make them responsible for making me joyous?
Let me put this out there. How many times do we find ourselves, if we're single, getting into a hot, new, passionate relationship with someone, and within a short amount of time, less than a year, things start to change, and that passion, even if the passion is there, but again, you still have this feeling of something's missing within you, or something's missing, even though you have this connection with someone else, it's working, but yet you're feeling something's off. Why is that?
Well, again, that's a realignment thing, isn't it? That's you not knowing thyself.
Yeah.
That's you finding that echo, that residue that you haven't cleared up, and still gaining that energy within your life because you haven't taken the stock inventory like I'm talking about and really connected it with your values and your true purpose, like Jeff said, your soul plan. So until you know thyself, you know your values, you know your purpose, then you will keep repeating those patterns over and over again.
Yep. And to look at it's just about, and what we're doing here and why we're doing this show is to raise awareness and consciousness to all of this. You meet somebody, you connect. First of all, are you even conscious and aware of a connection? If you get to that place and to feel an energetic, spiritual, if you will, this a connection, a knowing that's there, and then move with the connection as opposed to saying, oh, wow, this completes me now. This is what I wanted. And if this goes away, so when Jay said, when you ask, oh, there's still something missing, that is, man, that's a hamster wheel. That's a cycle, meaning no matter what you say you want, and then it shows up and you start enjoying it. And if something comes up that says, oh, there's something missing, well, man, it's like that. Look at your entire life. Does that happen all the time? That something comes up, oh, something's still missing. Something's still missing. Something's still missing. Is that a pattern with everything in your life? And it's really to say, hey, can I receive love? Am I present? So what I'm saying, the answer to Jay is what we're really offering is just how aware and conscious of you are of these patterns, as Ev said, these behaviors.
Yeah. Josh, I want to ask you real quick, because you're the brain dude. You study the brain, you studied the brain, you research it, you're working on a documentary revolving around the role that our brain plays in our existence. Alan says here, Josh, we subconsciously draw in a partner that represents that which we need to heal, deal, and learn. Can you break that statement down from your perspective of being someone who's intimately involved in the nature and the behavior of one of our vital organs, the brain? What role does that play in us as he's describing it?
Well, I mean, absolutely. He's describing, but it's funny, what he's describing isn't necessarily, I think, a brain function as much as it is the universe is bringing us beautiful gifts. That mirror, as much as we may not like what we see in it from time to time, and as hard as it may be to see some things about ourselves that we've carried on from old stories, like Jeff said, or from generational stories, like Jay opened up the show with, things that might not even be ours, things that we were gifted from our parents and grandparents, and stories that were handed down through generations, like Ev has talked about in his lineage, things that may not even be ours. All of a sudden, boom, they are right there. And it's hard sometimes. I'll fully admit.
Josh, it's interesting because on one hand, he refers to it as a subconscious, but really what I'm feeling in this moment, based on what you just shared and my own experience of the healing journey, is it's the soul. It's our heart space that needs to do that healing. So is it our heart? So really, Alan or Josh, which part of ourself is pulling in that type of person? Is it the yearning from our our soul, our heart, at our deepest core of who we are? Ev, you're welcome to jump in here in this moment too. Or is it, what role does that subconscious play versus the heart or soul? Ev, you want to take this one?
Well, whenever you're talking about subconscious, I mean, we all know the subconscious mind is programmed from the years of 1 to 7 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're suffering and you think you're drawing in a partner like Alan's described for your healing, for your learning, for your dealing, you're pulling in childhood wounds that we always talk about. The abandonment, the rejection, the blame, the shame, the never be heard. So whenever you're talking about the subconscious mind, we've got to go back, childhood learning. What did you see? What didn't you see? How were you programmed? What did you take on? What were your inheritance? And so, yeah, the heart is trying to heal, but the logic of it, when we can try and get past some of those emotions initially, because if we're dealing with, some of those things that draw in that particular energy person within our lives, well, it's an emotion, isn't it? It's a feeling that we're chasing.
Mm-hmm.
So we may have to put those emotions aside and be logic about what we've gotten ourselves into.
Yes, I love that.
With the script.
Yeah, it makes sense, Ev. Thank you. I want to acknowledge Carrie Crary coming in from south of Sedona, Arizona, in another town in Arizona. She says, and this is a beautiful statement. I want to just take a moment to honor you, Carrie, and thank you for being vulnerable in this moment. But I think it's important enough because I see it. It's a statement, but there's a question for me. And that is, she says, I struggle with things being a lesson because it can make me feel like I'm doing things wrong when life falls apart.
Mm-hmm.
And so really, from my perspective, what I feel when I read this is that we have a negative attachment or relationship to the word lesson. Here's my question.
Mm-hmm.
How can Carrie break her relationship, her idea or belief system behind what the meaning of what a lesson means for her, if I may paraphrase it, that she's done something wrong? How do we change the relationship with that word lesson so that it actually becomes a positive mentor, a positive teacher, and not one of self-sabotage, self-deprecation, and shame?
Mm-hmm.
How do we help Carrie break the cycle?
What Josh said
earlier,
earlier,
reframe would be to change the word lesson with gift.
Exactly. There you go.
Love it.
Because in that lesson is a beautiful gift to grow, be more whole, come closer to thy true self.
Yep.
That's what it took for me, was reframing it as a gift. And now I look forward to them.
Yeah. I mean,
it's like, ooh, there's another one.
And they're all gifts. And to go back to what Carrie said, to me, that sounds like a pattern. A pattern based upon maybe conditioning and programming of why do I consistently call people into my life and then I have to get a lesson for it? Well, that's the gift. That's why people come into our lives. And if we and then she said something about it all falls apart. That to me could be like a habit or a pattern of it falls apart, as opposed to like what's falling apart? Am I falling apart? Or the relationship's falling apart? So if we look at it as I was just going to say that, as Josh says, it's a gift. The gift. Somebody came in as a gift in the universe, in my soul plan. And I stress the soul plan so much because everything that happens in our life happens for a reason. There's no coincidences. There's There's no coincidence in life. There's no coincidence that the four of us got together, that Jay brought us together. It's not a coincidence. It was supposed to happen. The connection was supposed to happen. So when we look at, oh, that is part of my plan, that's the gift of this, because the thing that happens is then feelings come in.
Mm.
The feelings come in, and whatever feelings come in, oh, I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling angry, I'm feeling this. Then you think, oh my God, I did something wrong because I'm feeling angry and sad, this, that, and the other thing, as opposed to looking at it as a gift that brought up those feelings. And then it's, wow, how is this going to reshape and reform me so I'm not missing anymore when those things happen?
I love that, Jeff.
Mm.
I love that last statement you made.
Mm.
That's so powerful. I want to just invite us to take a moment here, just to take a nice deep breath and pause. Robert Brooker says, when you discover reason, making life happen for you becomes possible. There you go. Robert Brooker, breaking it down for us from a different angle or perspective, but coming to the same space, same place with us in this moment.
Mm. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Something that's standing out for me right now is when we're talking about the gift. We mentioned the teachers in our life. I remember there was a period after my wife and I went our separate ways. Of course, there's so many levels of hurt and emotions that were entangled at the end of the relationship. And it took some time, but eventually, when I started to be able to, in my own way, thank my ex-wife for being a teacher in my life, it helped me release so much of that internal anger and feelings of injustice and everything that comes when a married couple break up, as long as we were together for just under 30 years. And so when I was able to really just take some time on a walkabout, as Evis would say, and do my spiritual practices and be in prayer and meditation and movement. And I think about those moments when I could say, thank you for being my teacher, as painful as it was. In the moment, it never feels good, but sometimes you ever think back to when you were a student in school, whether it be high school, grade school, even university, and you have that professor or teacher that was really, really hard on you, was really challenging and difficult. How many times have we either heard someone say, or we had the experience where we can look back and say, that teacher was the best teacher I ever had?
Mm-hmm.
Now, in that moment, it didn't feel like it wasn't a feel-good feeling like Michael Bublé would say in Feeling Good, and that song that he sings so well. But when we have the opportunity to reflect and pause and look at what was the gift we got, what did we hear, what was the wisdom that we garnered or gained, it changes our relationship with how we had shown up in a pattern prior, as Jeff said. Right?
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yep. It doesn't mean that what happens, and like I said earlier, what triggers us, that we're always going in that moment, we're going to say, oh, wow, what a great gift, because it's going to trigger feelings. But once again, it comes back to consciousness and awareness, which is what we're offering right here. A tool that you can use is, oh, wow, this just happened. And it's triggering feelings. It's not making me feel anything, but it's triggering something inside of me right now, which is the reason why that happened. And then if we allow the feelings to come up and we allow ourselves in that place, and then just repeat, okay, what's the gift? What's the gift? What's the gift here? It'll come eventually. It might come momentarily. It might come an hour from now or a week from now. There are wonderful people also who come into our lives who we feel love for in our lives. But I'm telling you right now, that love comes in and it's like, wow, I made that connection. It's fantastic. And it is. But that person, because of that connection, is also going to trigger parts of the shadow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you can still love them, but they're going to trigger parts of that shadow because it's not limited. It's not either or. It's all encompassing. That's why a couple of weeks ago, when Ev said, "Who out there associates pain with love?" You know, I raised my hand to that, and then do I have that association? But we can love and we can feel, but there's also going to be that person who gets the closest to us is going to trigger all of that wonderful, loving, heartfelt, loving energy in the connection. But what's also going to be triggered is the shadow. And that is an all-encompassing relationship. And if we can go there and look at that as a gift and then nurture ourselves through it, it's wonderful.
Beautiful, brother.
Jeff, to your point, I'm going to read out what, piggybacking what you just said, Katrina May coming in from Vancouver Island, British Columbia. Welcome to the show tonight, Katrina. She says, the universe always sends us situations and people that will teach us what we need to learn about ourselves. Those things are temporary, but the wisdom we take from it is life-changing and helps us become closer to our true self, hence the gift. So it really is, it's a play on words, Carrie, but at the end of the day, every single time I find myself in personal discomfort due to circumstances that either I've created or circumstances that have been presented to me, I have now gotten into the practice pretty quickly to ask the question, what is the lesson? What is the gift? What am I supposed to take away from this? And sometimes it comes to me pretty quick, much quicker than at the beginning of the healing journey, almost 6 years ago. But sometimes I get multiple answers that come forward, but they don't come forward because I sit and think about it and dwell on it and sit in that discomfort, in that dis-ease, or in that pain. It's because I get busy with self-care. I lean in, I up my game, just like someone may up their pharmaceuticals if they're under stress or anxiety. I choose to up my self-care so that I don't resort to some of the old habits that I used to self-soothe myself. I do it through self-care. And for me, that's getting out, walking, getting out and hiking, getting out and distracting myself from my thoughts so that I could just be present in the moment and allow the wisdom, the answers to come from bubbling up, as I call it, just bubbling up to the surface. I also call it a pop. It just kind of comes from nowhere. When I'm in nature, that's where miracles unfold. I got to get out of my head and get into nature to allow the answers, the wisdom, the intuition to come from within.
An experience that happened for me many years ago, and where I actually learned this. What's the gift? What's the lesson? I had a situation with a woman who I was dating at the time, about 15 or so years ago. I don't know, more than that. And I'm telling you, we had a disagreement, but it was dramatic. It was very dramatic. It really brought up a lot of stuff in both of us, to the point where I had to leave, and it brought up so much wounding, so much little Jeff stuff, and it was crazy. And then in New York, there was a place called Children of Light, and it was a Sunday night, so I went up there, and a friend of mine was there, and he saw me in such a state, in such a place, and he looked at me and he said, put his hand on my back and he said, Jeff, there is a gift and there is a lesson. There is a gift and there is a lesson. And I was literally, my energy, I was in freak out mode in that moment. And he said, go into that room and just sit there and repeat to yourself, there is a gift, there is a lesson. Universe, show me the gift and the lesson. And I did that quietly. And it just calmed me down to a point that all of the anxiousness, all the anxiety, all of the wounding and all of that subsided to the place that, I mean, the gift and the lesson didn't come right away. Just those words that would release, knowing that what just happened, there's a gift and there's a lesson. That's the consciousness that we can raise ourselves to in the moment of trying to indulge and sink and be in the drama of it.
Beautiful.
We're not saying it's not okay to feel too.
Right.
I mean, we all feel. It happens. You feel that. We get triggered big time, and it's like, but it's taking that moment to notice and say, whoa, what is this?
Yeah.
And we don't have to, the world tempts us to feel something, but it's our choice to stay there. And we don't have to stay there. So that's where we have the control. That's the moment that we take back our power and say, okay, I'm going to notice how I feel. I'm not going to judge it. And I'm going to either choose to stay here, or we can reframe this as a gift and now start to examine this and say, where is that little chocolate, that nugget of of goodness in this uncomfortable situation? It becomes a discovery. And curiosity is another really, really powerful tool, because it gets us out of that emotion and it allows us to examine something from sort of like a scientific perspective. Rather than being stuck in the emotion, you're going, okay, this is not in me, it's now out of me. And you can examine it and say, what is this thing? Why do I have such an adverse reaction right now? What's going on? And then there's the beautiful lessons and gifts and learning. And that's when we uncover our past and the subconscious beliefs and stories that have been handed down to us or passed along. And then once we can see where something comes from and understand where it comes from, then we can forgive those people along with forgiving ourselves. And it's like, it almost like takes that understanding to really be able to wrap your head around it and finally just break it open completely and let it go and heal.
There you go. And Katrina just put a pretty bow on your segment here, Josh. Richards, she says, embrace the storm, see the rainbow. I do want to circle back. This has been a beautiful segment as we are coming up about 12 minutes from the hour. Before we go into magical and musical chairs, I do want to just kind of come back and circle back to something I shared in this show tonight regarding my relationship with pharmaceuticals, because I did catch Jeannie's comment, and I'm not advocating that anyone should take themselves off of drugs. For me personally, I was on pharmaceuticals for 21 years, and many of them were psych meds to deal with anxiety and all of the emotional burden that I was carrying for 54 years of my adult life. And for me personally, it was a choice. I made the decision to wean myself off because the drugs didn't help me. They did not change my life. They did not give me answers that I needed, and they did not bring me home to myself. They numbed me out. They didn't work for me personally. And I spent over 2 decades living in that. And when I finally understood the power of self-care, which unfortunately that was something that was not really suggested to me. And it wasn't until I really started to embrace giving myself permission to take care of myself, something I never did as a man that was more concerned about taking care of other people, like his wife and his children, the employer, the employees, and the customers. So for me, I felt more shame and guilt if I took time to learn how to take care of me. And it wasn't until I started breaking free of that belief system, that story that nearly took me out, that I began to understand that I had more power that I was aware of. I had no idea that I could, in fact, impact healthy change in my own life. So, it's just my experience. It doesn't mean it's right or wrong for anybody else. But I also do think that there are things that we all can do and should do and embrace to take back our own power and not give our power away to others that don't really know what we need. Only we know what we need when we slow down long enough and have the courage to change. So, Ev, what do you make of that, Ev?
100%, my brother. And that in itself, Mr. Jroff, the man, is another show. 100%. All about those pharmaceuticals, big pharma, and how we've grown up relying on that sort of stuff. You're talking about, starting to really see the ultimate pharmaceutical company is your body. So when we actually go back within, we sit with the body and start realizing that it was designed to heal itself. Well, then we can take, like I say, the stock inventory of what we may be taking in from the outside again to our life medication-wise and see how we can wean off some of these particular medications. Man, my mum's currently on probably an A4 page of medications after her kidney transplant. So it's real and it's not going to go away. But as we keep coming into these higher states of consciousness and really seeing the beautiful body for what it is designed to do, then, we're actually going to keep playing out the old paradigm, the old program. So, yeah, man, 100%, Jay, 100%.
All right. Well, gentlemen, thank you for bringing in a very powerful show this evening. This is one for me that I personally lived in for most of my adult life. As you described, having so much success, yet something was missing in my life. And so this topic was one that I'm very passionate about because it took me almost a lifetime, my whole adult lifetime, to finally wake up and understand that everything that I had accomplished and secured physically in my life wasn't really giving me what I needed. It wasn't the nourishment. It wasn't the nurturing. It wasn't the unconditional love that I needed from outside. It was everything that I was needing was already here. It was within me. And as Alan said, coming up from Toronto, thank you for joining us from the Toronto, Canada, Alan, this evening. What I needed was to face my own shadows. I needed to heal those wounds from my younger years in my childhood, as well as my younger years as a young adult. And until I was willing to face those shadows and be willing to turn on a light so I could really see clearly what I needed, I was just on a path of total destruction, unknowing. And so if any of our viewers are listening and you're not really sure where to go, where to start, how to start, I'd like us to close out tonight's show with magical musical chairs where, you know how it works, you'll have 2-3 minutes to either put a pretty bow in a show, share some closing thoughts and tips, tricks, or tools to help someone who is listening tonight or catching us on replay, what they can do to help navigate themselves out of this inner bondage that they've been living in. And of course, there's also the opportunity for me to ask a question of you that you can answer in the closing segment. And so Josh, Richard, since you're up there, why don't we move this up a little bit? We're going to move you around. All right. I think I actually kind of like having you, the JR.
All right.
So, Josh, I'm gonna ask you a question right out of the gate. I'm gonna put you right in a hot seat. Magical musical Chad.
Okay, let's do it.
Is anything missing from your life, Josh Richard? And if so, what is it?
Tell you what, I really want to answer this honestly and vulnerably. So skip me for a second because I want to give it its due diligence here and bring that to you honestly. So I'll let me think for a moment.
Jeff Fasano, here's your question. What's missing that you keep looking for?
Nothing.
Nothing at all.
I call BS on that. I call BS on that, Jeff Fasano. Come on.
In the last year or so, the work that I've been doing on myself, I've moved to a place in my life where I'm digging my life. I'm digging what I've accomplished in my life. I'm digging myself. I am becoming more fulfilled with who I am on a level that I have never before. And there's nothing that I need from outside of myself to fill me up. There really isn't. I've moved to a place of really, in the last year or so, working diligently with someone on this, and have moved to a place of where I'm comfortable in my own skin. I can open my heart to receive love. I'm there. I'm present. If I was to say something is missing in my life, it's only to add to my life. I'm here. There's nothing. If you asked me this a year ago, I would say this is missing, that's missing, this is missing, but there's nothing missing in my life that is not within me now. I mean, my loving and valuing and honoring myself has gone so much that I'm now calling things into my life that are enhancing my life and what I've always wanted, still challenging me to grow even further, because we never stop growing. We never stop learning. Like I said, the wonderful things and the wonderful people that are coming into our life are going to reveal the shadow as well. And when I take it from that place, so there's really, the honest answer, Jay, is there's nothing missing from my life. You know, my life is pretty damn cool right now.
All right. Then, Jeff, what is the greatest accomplishment that you have in this moment in your life?
I've opened up my heart to someone in my life now that frightened the heck out of me. And now I'm not frightened about it.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. Hey guys, how does it feel to hear Jeff Fasano share that right now?
Bliss, brother. Bliss.
Man, you deserve it.
From fear to faith, from faith to love, Jeff Fasano. Love it, brother.
Love you.
Thank you, Jeff. Josh, are you ready? Have you had enough pause or?
Let's do this.
You know what? I'm going to give you a little bit more time.
I wasn't convincing, huh?
Ev, you're up.
Ev.
All right, Ev. So here's your question, Ev. What is missing from your life today, Ev?
Look, I'm going to piggyback. There were a lot of things that were missing from my life, I would say, a few years ago. But you know, through shows like this, brother, you know, I've been able to build some beautiful relationships worldwide. I've had, I guess, if you want to say the word, I've had some reassurance. You know, I have beautiful messages daily. People, you know, I'm inspiring worldwide. And that just gives me a sense of comfort, the safety, I guess, the balance that I was seeking as a child. You know, one thing for me, I know that was missing in my life that I really started to awaken to was I actually went from labels and status to purpose and service. I'll say that again. From labels and status to purpose to service. And that labels and those status was ingrained and it was imprinted into me as a childhood when I look back now. You know, groomed to be the best sportsman in the world, groomed to really excel and power home in your grades at school, you know, do this and do that to, you know, fulfill this particular thing within your life that, again, they weren't my programs. So I carried those programs into my early adult life, and really only till probably the last 3-5 years ago when I actually flipped that script and, like I keep saying, came back to self, knew my values, took the stock take, the inventory that I talk about, and thought about what aligns to my true soul plan, my purpose, my service. Then I started to see everything start to flow within my life. You know, last year for all of us, that 2020, man, we really started to see if there were things missing in life, if we had accumulated all of that stuff within our life, that just how simple this spirit needs everything to be in flow. Mm-hmm. That false sense of security that we're growing up, it's crumbled, my brothers and sisters. It's crumbled. So I've found that balance. I found that peace within. And so I'm able to now sit at the balance, sit at the value and the purpose that I align to, and see things magnetized towards me, as opposed to chasing that label and status that I was always chasing through a lot of my childhood, teenagehood, and into my early adulthood. So yeah, man, I found balance, brother. I found peace. Mm-hmm. And you know, I can't really say that I've missing anything within my life at the moment. Jroff the man. Mm-hmm.
Hey Jay, you're muted.
I love hearing that too.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's the balance and the peace.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
Balance and peace, man.
Yep.
From labels and status to service and purpose.
That leads to balance and peace.
Mm-hmm.
What is that again, Jay? From
labels and status to service and
purpose to balance and peace.
Mm-hmm.
How cool is that? That is Heath. I'm gonna have dude
get that tattooed on my back.
We'll put that on a Dalton Trap shirt. What do you reckon?
There you go. There you go.
Yeah. Hey Jeff, what's coming up for you right now?
I just think it's so beautiful. I think that's life right there. That's the shift. That's the transformation from labels and status all outside of yourself, losing yourself all in that, to coming back to realizing that we're here with our purpose to serve. And when we get into that place, that's in our heart space. Labels and status is in our mental body.
There you go, brother. There you go.
That's up here. That's in our head. That's conditioning. That's what we hear. That's proving who we are. And then move from that, which I think the four of us here have done in our lives, realizing that, wow, I'm here really to serve, and that's my purpose. And my purpose is to be who I am. So the status and everything that I've accumulated is not really being who I am. So I moved to service and purpose of being who I am. Being who I am in my heart space leads to balance and peace. And we can serve even greater from that place. That's
Love that, Jeff. Love that, brother.
That's so beautiful, Evis.
Peace, my brother.
Beautiful. Amazing.
Well, Jeannie Cash seemed to like it. She says, yes.
Love you, Jenny.
I love where the show's gone tonight. I really, really do.
Yeah.
So,
Ah,
Josh,
Jay.
Richard, I had you back tonight.
You asked me a toughie, Jay, because, man, life happens. What I miss most. Man, a year ago, I was meditating an hour every morning. I was in charge of my internal and mental world. I was reframing. I was powerful. Powerful. I mean, nothing could touch me in life. I walked out of the house each morning feeling like $1 million, and it was of my making. I was generating that from within. And it's funny. I'm doing a big documentary now about the brain and the power that we do have, and reframing our stories, and that we are not our brains. And the size and scale and scope of this project has led me away from those self-care and powerful practices. You know, I'm traveling and feeling the pressure of time and feeling the pressure of finances as well, and feeling the pressure of this moment. And all of it comes, the pressure comes from what the guys are talking about, my genuine passion to give, and my love that I have. And I have to sometimes remind myself that I'm human too. And so it is without judgment that I tell you all this today. And it is with love, probably maybe a little disappointment mixed in there, and maybe even feeling a little sheepish that here I'm doing a big project about the power that we have, and I've somehow lost some of mine. So what do I miss most? I miss those morning meditations where I connect with the stars and the universe, and I am one, and I finish and open my eyes, and I walk outside and I see the sky. I appreciate everything. I'm so grateful, deeply, deeply grateful, almost to the point of tears. And I drive to work just knowing that I am in control of my emotions, and I feel great. Yeah, I'm kind of missing that today. And I may have not shown up as my highest self on a couple of occasions in the past couple of weeks, and that I'm ready to get back to the powerful me.
Magic, brother.
We'll get there.
Josh, thank you for sharing your truth, telling on yourself across the globe, from here to Australia and Canada and everywhere in between. This is these moments where, when we're willing to show this vulnerability and be real, we release the power behind what's holding us back. And we all support you, we all love you, and we all honor you in this moment. And so I invite you, Josh, Richard, tomorrow morning, get up and do something different for you. Go back. even if it's for 5 minutes, for 10 minutes, not 30 or an hour, however much time you are willing to commit and create a new non-negotiable for yourself. Because as you've acknowledged, when we don't give ourselves the time that we know lifts our vibration up, lifts our spirit up, everyone around us is affected. So,
and the world comes creeping back in.
yeah.
It's amazing how it seems so small and insignificant, but that time for us is so powerful.
Yeah.
And it can so easily get put on back burner. And it is the utmost importance.
You know what's coming forward for me in this moment, Josh, is that when we have the awareness that, as you just described, that you liked how you felt better then and now, and you're aware of what it is that was a gateway for you, not to go to shame and beat yourself up for having abandoned that for yourself, but instead to look at it and go, wow, like instead of beating yourself up, embrace it and say, not here, not now, not today. Tomorrow's a new day. And tomorrow I'm going to show up more loving for myself first, so I have more love to give to the people in the circle of my life. Without shame, without guilt, without nothing there. It doesn't matter what you didn't do. What matters is that you have the awareness of how you feel so much better, and just embrace it, man. There's no time to sit and dwell in what we didn't accomplish, right?
Right.
That's it.
Yep.
And we're allowed to change.
Yes.
You know, I'm giving every single one of you permission out there. We are allowed to change and change on a dime. You can be a different person, whole different person tomorrow.
Yep.
There you go.
I was just popped into my head is Josh always talks about gratitude. And I hear Josh so many times, like a tool that he uses is gratitude. And I'm going to be really honest here. The first couple of times Josh said that, I was like, what? And I didn't know how to do that. And I've learned through the work that I've been doing for the last year. Like if you asked me a year ago, use that tool of gratitude, like what? And I've learned that the gratitude, not for what I have, not for the people in my life, that's part of it, but the gratitude of me. The gratitude of the work I've done, the work I put into myself. So I'm not missing from me anymore. So I'm there for me, not in an ego place, but we're there. I'm there for me now. Everything else enhances that. I'm not here to fill myself up anymore from outside. I'm missing that. If that was in my life, then I'd be full. And until that happens, then I will feel joyous. And it's not about that. It's about fulfillment. And the fulfillment is us, and the gratitude of us putting in the time, the effort, raising our resonance and vibration, wanting to open our heart space to serve, to be ourselves. And what we're asking everybody here to do is to put in that time and that effort for yourself.
Yes, love that, Jeff Fasano. Sherry Olson, thank you for sharing. Wow, true. Come home to yourself. Ev, this is my time. This is my time to now close this out with some thoughts. But before I go there, I'd like to invite you, Ev, to hit me with a question. I believe last week, Jeff, I think it was Jeff.
No, I think Josh did it.
Josh did.
I hit you below the belt. Sorry,
Really?
Jay.
You're off the
Sorry,
hook.
not sorry.
No need to apologize. You didn't do anything wrong. You did everything right. We always do everything right. We do it right on time. Ev, you got any questions for me? You got one? Hit me hard.
Well, I think you said, we didn't really dive in on the other scale. We've dived in tonight about, if we've accumulated some of those things within our lives, there's still something missing. Is there something that, you've had the successes, like you've mentioned through the show, you've had beautiful family, you've, had the wealth. Now being able to have let all of that go, Jroff, man, would you still have anything missing within your life? So basically, is there regret letting go?
That's two questions.
I'm trying to work it in with the missing side of thing of the show. So you've let it all go, my brother. You've seen both sides of the coin. Is there anything that's still missing in Jroff the man's life?
I asked the questions of you, get the same question to you guys, and it's such a rabbit hole question, because we could take it in so many different directions. But what I've learned is that in this moment, all I have is right here, right now. And I could sit in all of the choices that I made that created the perfect storm for myself and my loved ones. But that won't serve me. It won't serve me emotionally, mentally, physically, or spiritually. And so what I work on each day is acceptance. Acceptance of the fact that I didn't know what I didn't know until I knew it. But once I knew it, which for me was the awakening, it's a choice to stay in it, or a choice to say, no, thank you, no mas, no more. Not here, not now, not today. Do we do it perfectly? Do I do it perfectly? Oh, heck no. But by the grace of God, each day that I awaken and I'm given the gift of breath, the most important opportunity for me is to stay present as much as I can in that day. To be honest, to drop the armor, to keep it down, and first to show up for myself, and then be of service to others. In a healthy way, not in a way that I thought I was doing good for other people in the past. Regrets? Regrets, I've had a few, but I know today that they don't serve me. I know today that I had to go through those things. I had to lose some things to find myself. Do I wish that I hadn't hurt the people that I cared about, the closest people in my life? Yes, no doubt. I get to spend the rest of my life just being me. And that, my friends, is freedom. It's a daily reprieve. And for me, the antidote the true antidote is self-care.
Mm.
So that each day I can create balance, serenity, calm, joy, ease, and inner peace within. And when I'm able to achieve that state of being instead of the state of doing, I have a pretty good day. Matter of fact, I have a really good day.
Mhm.
And so, Ev, I don't know if I answered your question or not.
No. Beautiful, brother.
I'm not sure, but
Absolutely beautiful.
that's what came forward for me in this moment. And with that,
Mm.
viewers, if you're not aware, we do have a YouTube channel where you can catch us, Real Men, Real Talk Live. If you have friends or family that are not on Facebook, you could share our channel out. If you want to watch past episodes, they're all archived in a playlist, which is one of the tabs. You could subscribe so that you could get a reminder when we're coming live each week. And if you subscribe, it'll help us grow our viewership as well on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
We appreciate you so much. I'm sure, somehow, some way, we touched someone's life tonight on this episode. Please share it out with your friends and community so that you can touch someone else's life as well.
Mm-hmm.
I love you guys. You guys are my brothers. You guys bring me joy each week when we get together at a production meeting on Tuesdays, and then when we come live on Fridays. We'll catch you guys next week. We'll catch all of you next week. Stay healthy, self-care, and have fun.
Mm.
And peace out. We'll see you guys next week on Real Men, Real Talk Live.